Summary of Montana, 1948, by Larry Watson. David Hayden, who is 52 years old at the time he is recounting the story, is only 12 years old when the events that are described in the story take place. He says that everything changed for him in the summer of 1948. One day, David sees that his Native American babysitter and housekeeper, Marie Little Soldier, who he loves very much, has a cough. Gail and Wesley agree to call Frank, who is a doctor and is Wesley's brother. Marie says no, but they won't listen. When Frank is treating her, she is so upset and scared that Gail knows something bigger is going on. Marie tells Gail, after Frank leaves, that Frank has been sexually abusing women from the tribes who come to him for help. Gail is very angry, so she tells Wesley what Frank has been up to. Wesley is the sheriff of Mercer County, but he is also Frank's brother, so he isn't sure what to do. He talks to Marie to find out more about what she says. During this process, David learns that Wesley has already found out that his brother is guilty. A few nights later, David and his parents have dinner with Grandpa and Grandma Hayden. David hears Grandpa Hayden making jokes about his best son, Frank, who likes red meat. Frank is there, and Wesley talks to him while he's there. David can see them talking, but he can't hear them. At the end of the talk, Frank shakes hands with Wesley. Wesley tells Gail on the way home that Frank has agreed to stop abusing her. Gail thinks that he should be punished for the crimes he has already done. The next day, Gail comes home from work to find Marie dead in her bed. They are shocked because Marie had been getting better, so they didn't know what to expect. David tells his parents that night that he saw Uncle Frank come into their house in the afternoon. He also says that he thinks Len McCauley, who lives next door and is Wesley's deputy sheriff, also saw Frank. Wesley figures out that his brother probably killed Marie and decides to take action. The next day, Wesley locks Frank up in the basement so that he doesn't have to be locked up in a jail cell. Grandpa Hayden comes to the house and demands that Frank be set free. He also says that Wesley arrested Frank because he was jealous of him. Wesley tells his dad that Frank is probably guilty of murder and needs to face the law. Wesley tells David that he should never let Grandpa or Grandma into the house if he's home alone after Grandpa Hayden leaves. The next day, a truck drives around the house. David knows some of the people in the truck who work for Grandpa. They come up to the house with an axe, probably thinking they can break Frank out of the basement door. Gail shoots at them with a shotgun to warn them, but Len comes along just in time to stop them. Wesley comes home and wants to know what's going on. He knows that Frank will never be found guilty because Grandpa Hayden has too much power in this town. They all agree that Frank should be let go. But after talking to Frank, Wesley learns that Frank is almost certainly guilty and doesn't feel bad about killing Marie. Wesley can't stand the idea of Frank getting away, so he says he will take his brother to jail as soon as he wakes up in the morning. That night, when David is sleeping, he hears glass breaking. His parents are awake. They tell him that Frank is breaking up jam jars in the basement to get attention and that no one should go downstairs. Wesley goes to wake Frank up in the morning, but when he gets there, Frank is dead. He used the broken glass to cut his wrists. David thinks that now everything can go back to normal, and he is thankful for his Uncle Frank's choice. Things don't go back to normal, of course. In the winter, David's family leaves Montana. David has a pretty good life, and his father is a lawyer in North Dakota. He ends up becoming a history teacher because he thinks that all histories hide stories of abuse and bad behavior. He takes Betsy as his wife. At dinner with David and his parents one night, Betsy talks about the summer of 1948 and says that Montana really was the Wild West back then. In anger, Wesley slams the table and tells Betsy that she should never blame Montana. In the final scene of the book, David is seen sitting in his father's place at the table later that night. He is certain that he can still feel his father's blow echoing through the wood.
About the author. Larry Watson grew up in Bismarck, North Dakota, and is an author and poet. He got a Bachelor of Fine Arts and a Master of Fine Arts from the University of North Dakota. Later, he got a PhD in creative writing from the University of Utah. As a child of the Midwest, Watson often writes stories with settings and scenery that are unique to the region. He has written several stories and one book of poems. His fiction has won him several awards. Before becoming a visiting professor at Marquette University, he taught English at the University of Wisconsin for 25 years. He lives in Milwaukee with his wife and their 2 kids and 2 grandsons.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.